Boas, welcome to a new series on YouTube, How to Face Declining Variations of Gambits. Have you ever played a gambit and your opponent does not accept it like the bozo he is? Well, in this series you'll know exactly what to do against these declining variations. And in this first episode, we will start with a TRAXLER counterattack. As you know, or as you should know, the TRAXLER is an opening that starts off the Italian game b45, knight f3, knight c6, and after bishop c4 you respond with the knight f6 defense, the two knights defense, and after knight g5, the knight attack, trying to get some sort of 5 lever. You say go ahead and capture that, playing bishop c5. This move, as you know, has two main ways: is leave this pawn undefended, and has two main ways of capturing, both with the bishop or the knight. These are the, let's say, the accepting variations of the TRAXLER. So in this video we will not focus on them. But as you can see, there are many other moves that people that are afraid of playing TRAXLER. In this case, we will group them into two types. The moves that don't threaten anything, for example, such as castles, such as d3, such as c3, to which, in response to all of them, you can just castle back. And you have a great position because their knight is stupid and you can just kick it away. The knight has to return. You play d6, you play bishop g4, and you have a great position. On the other hand, on the other group, you have the challenging variations, let's say, of the declining variations, in which are both d4 and b4. So we're going to move to a Lichess study to focus more on these particularly. So here we are. So as we can see, already have everything set up. In the variation that after bishop c5 they play b4, you have to know that b4 is already a mistake and is totally losing for white, as you can see by the eval, and it's due to a simple move d5, exploding the board. It's good to know as a rule of thumb that against both b4 and d5 is the preferred move. For me, there are three main moves you can face. For example, e takes d5, bishop takes d5, and b takes c5. As you can see, some people have played knight takes f7, but if they do so, you can just capture. And as you can see, this is totally winning. You're just at a piece. So returning to this position, we will focus on the three main moves that I think you might face, which are the three aforementioned. So against e takes d5, you can just capture on b4. You want your pawn back, but most importantly, you're attacking this. And if, for example, they castle, you can just castle back, and you have 3 pieces against 2 already attacking a pawn. The knight is gonna have to go back after h6, so everything is fine, as we can see by the eval. One move that you can face is c3, but again, you can just capture. On the other hand, you can also face, in this position, you can also face b takes c5, just grabbing your bishop. But here, you take on c4, and once again you see the problems of white's position. The knight is already stupid, it has to go back. You're gonna pin the knight. Possibilities of queen d4 with a double attack. This pawn will be unguarded after the knight goes back, and again you have more pieces developed than white, and they still have to castle it, and they still have to go with the knight back. So as we can see, this is totally winning for black. Finally, you can also face the move bishop takes d5. In this case, you just capture back, and either way they take, you're just gonna take the knight here, and even if one of your knights is hanging, for example here, and you can have 2 pieces hanging, but the threat of taking on on g2 is too strong. For example, if they take the bishop, you just take here, and if they move the rook, bishop h3 or even knight d4 just ends the game, as you can see. For example, after they might not take, they might just castle, for example. But as you can see, for example, bishop g4, which forces queen e1 because the f pawn is pinned, you have already made threats here forcing this, and say queen f5, queen h5 is already leaving to mate. In the second part of the video, we will look at what to do after d4 in this position. So, as we said, the best move against before is d5. Here, there are four main options, four main captures that you need to consider. For example, uh, the main move in this position is e takes d5. But here, black is already much better after move knight takes d4, because as you can see, you have three pieces out. The knight is stupid, there's no battery ready to castle. Force knight to f3, play bishop g4. So even if c3, you just go back to f5, and you can even go to e3, attack the bishop, and the game continues. But as you can see, black has a very pleasant advantage. On the other hand, you can also face the move d takes c5. In this case, the position that arises is just an equal endgame. After you swap the queens, you take with the knight, so you don't get forked. For example, knight a3, going after the pawn, you can play h3 and try to win off the pawns, but it's 0-0. The third move I'm focusing on is d takes e5, to which black is already much better after knight takes e5, as we can see. Due to the fact that if, for example, the bishop takes, you play this knight to g5, to g4, sorry, and if they castle, you can just play h3, and after they hop back, you can just play c6, and if the bishop moves, you can just take the queen, and after they take, you can take on f2. For example, in another scenario, you can see the power of the bishop and the knight is that if they don't take, and they just lazily move back, you can just play h6, and when they come back to f3, you can just again go with this knight to g5, should go with this knight to g4, and when they castle, you can take, and when they take with the rook, you just continue applying pressure on the rook, and you're totally winning. Lastly, to the end, I save what is considered the best move for white in this position, bishop takes d5. But if you play that TRAXLER, you certainly won't mind playing this position, because after knight d4, you are offering the f7 pawn, but if they take with either the knight or the bishop, you'll get exactly what you want in a TRAXLER. For example, if they take with a knight, after queen e7, and they take on h8, you play bishop g4, into which f3 is already losing for white because of the combination. Knight takes, and if, for example, they take the bishop, queen h4, g3, and queen h3 gives black the advantage. So this has been the first episode of the series, facing declining variations. I hope you like it. If you have any suggestion for future videos, be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more of this, subscribe and like. Bye everyone. Also, before I go, just say that I want to leave a link in the description to this Lichess study if you want to see more for yourself.